Okay, we are going to continue on in learning plan number 5, which is patterns. The last time we were together, we focused on the tutorial, which is the second tutorial in the book. It's also part of an assignment that you have. So if we go into the homework assignment here, you do need to complete the tutorials in the book, which is chapter 6. The second one is the saw blade one. That's what I demonstrated in our part 1 lecture. And what I wanted to do today is, instead of going to the erector set plate yet and looking at XY like coordinate arrays, we are instead going to continue to reinforce axis patterns using a couple of the homework assignment problems. So down here are the drawings that you're going to be doing, and I want to make sure that you understand to use the handout. So there's the PDF handout for you if you want to print it off. I have mine printed off here in class. And we're going to look at this packing ring is going to be the first example that we do today. So, so make sure that you use this handout, not the end of the book in the Creo Parametric 8.0, because these don't line up with the back of the book, the numbers or all of the names. So I have a handout here for you to be sure that these two correspond. Do not do the back of the book. Okay, so I already have Creo open. I'm going to set my working directory to my H drive, and then Creo and my Creo 1 2022. Why am I dinging? Do you know what?
Oh, that would be me.
Oh, that's you. Okay,
Giving
good.
me warnings.
Good. All right. Not that I'm happy you're getting warnings, but but I'm glad it's not me. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to start a new part. We're going to call this our packing ring. I'm going to say okay, and we're going to get to our familiar screen. Now, how I'm going to approach this problem is I'm going to create it as a solid disk, if you would, and then cut away the parts that I don't want, and I'm going to be using 2 patterns along the way. So if we look at the part itself, okay, I'm going to create a complete like chunk here that's going to be a solid 1 1/4 inch deep. Okay, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a like a bore, if you would, on the inside. Take away this portion here. I'm also going to then put a cutout in, and then I'm going to do that as a pattern, 3 patterns or three places, and then I'm going to add in the recess that's underneath the back side here. Okay, so. And then the holes are going to go in as a pattern as well. So I'm going to start on my top view. Oopsie. I'm going to have to say I'm going to extrude first. I want to extrude. My definition is going to be on my top view here. And I'm going to say sketch. Okay. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom in here to the center, because I know that my circle is going to be pretty small. And I want to make sure that I attach my circle to my origin. So I'm going to grab that origin right there. Here's my circle. And oh, I'm zoomed way in. So I'm going to click on this. This needs to be 3 inches. Okay. So I'm going to zoom out here. And I think this looks pretty good. And we're going to check our features. We look good. I'm going to hit OK. And now what we have is we have our extrude function, okay? So now I need to put it to the depth that I want it to be. So I'm going to change this from 3 to 1.25 as the overall height. There we go. And that looks good. So I'm going to say, okay. All right. So I have in here now a solid disk. Now my work is going to be removing the material that I don't want. And I'm going to start by first putting the circle on the middle here. And it's a diameter circle of, let's see what this is here, 1 1/2 inches. Okay, so I'm going to do another extrude. And I'm going to go on this front surface right here. So it's going to rotate the sketch view. I'm going to go back to my origin. And this is going to be 1.5 inches in diameter. Okay. And I'm going to say feature requirements. That looks good. And then I'm going to hit OK. Now this one is assuming I want to add, I want to remove, and I need to change the direction. So you need to toggle this so that it goes all the way through. And this is going to be a through all, not just the depth. Okay. So through all, and I'm going to say, okay, all right. I don't know why it remembered 1.5. I wonder if I keyed in. Now let me do this. Now, let's say I'm like, oh, I want to check that dimension of 1.25. So that was in my first extrude here, okay? So if I go and I click on the extrude, I go back to that original one, and I want to edit its definition, and that's where I put the depth in. Oh, I did put it in as 1.25. Good, because when I went in the second time to do the extrude for the hole, its default was 1.5, and I was a little suspicious that it might have picked up 1.5 for some reason. That I had keyed it in immediately wrong. So it wasn't. It was I mean, I did it through all, so it looks like my geometry and my dimensions are good. Okay. So now what I want to do is I am going to now add the 1-inch wide cutout. So I'm going to go to extrude again. I'm going to go on this face, and I am going to grab and project the outside diameter here and this diameter right there. Now, right now it's giving me the halves, so I'm going to be putting in the 2 vertical lines here. I'm going to do a cut on that, and then I'm going to pattern that. So not having the full circle projected is totally fine because it's going to that horizontal axis. So I'm going to hit close here. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a line, and I'm going to put it here and go vertical up to here, and then middle mouse button to start again, line, and then I'm going to go over here. Now, I'm going to show you, notice that when I am over here, it automatically, if you would, like snaps to where it's even with the other side. I'm going to click when it's even, and then notice that it's going to go straight up here. Okay. So now what I have is I have a symmetrical dimension about here, which I do want. I want it to be centered here at 1 inch apart for my cut that I'm going to make. So now I'm going to get rid of what I don't want. So I'm going to get rid of this, and I'm going to be left with that. And now notice that it shades it. Once I hit my middle mouse button, it shades it so that it's an enclosed space. The dimension that I want here is actually going to be the dimension between here and here. And I'm going to put it up here. And that needs to be 1 inch. Yep. Okay, so there's my 1 inch. All right, so now I'm just going to double check. Looks like I'm good. I'm going to green check mark. It's assuming that I want to add material. I want to remove, and I want to switch toggle my direction in. And I want this to be to a depth from the top of 0.75. So this is a blind depth of 0.75. There we go. Okay, so there it is. That's 1. So I'm going to hit OK. That looks good. Now, with Extrude 3 highlighted, I am now going to hit the pattern function here. Okay. Now, if you're watching this on the replay, I'm up in this upper right-hand corner. Underneath me, there is a dimension. It's like a blue rectangle, a dimension. There's an arrow down here or a triangle in the corner, and you're going to activate that, and you're going to see that there is an option for axis. This is going to be an axis pattern, okay? Now, the first thing we need to do with an axis pattern is we need to select the axis. That's what it's asking for. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select, let me see here, I just make sure I select the one that is going through the center right there. And that's going to be the axis that I'm going to use as my pivot point or my center of rotation for this polar array, if you would, okay? Now I need 3 items, okay? So this is going to be 3. And then now it assumed 90 degrees between, but I need this evenly dispersed on a full 360. So to get an even, it's going to be 120 degrees between on this one. There we go. And now what you're going to notice is it doesn't like preview the actual feature itself, but it puts these little dots like at the center of each one, and that looks correct. So that's all we're going to get from a preview. So I'm going to say, okay, and there you go. I've got my cutout in place, all right? Now, there is this notch that I have to get out of here, all right? There's that notch I have to get out of there. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go back to, I'm going to do another extrude. And I am actually going to select this surface right here, because I'm actually going to draw the circle there, and then I'm going to cut away from underneath. Okay, so you'll see that what I'm doing in a bit. So from that surface, I am now going to create another circle. So I'm going to go on the center. It's going to be like in here-ish, right? Okay. And then I'm going to double click this, and this diameter on the inside is it's 2.5. The bolt circle is 2. It's there. And if I kind of look here, notice that where it is, it's on this surface down here, not on the top, it's on this surface right here. So now I'm going to say, feature requirements, I look good, I was anticipating that, okay. Now it wants to add material going through. Now I want to do a remove, okay, but I don't want it to remove all of that. I want it to go from that surface up, and that dimension is 0.312. Yep. Enter. There we go. So that creates that little shelf. Do you see that in there? Yeah. There we go. Okay. So I used one pattern for the cutout, but then I did another extrude remove material to get that feature in there. Okay. And then the last thing I need to do is add my holes. Now, this is a little different. I'm going to show you how we use a reference for the bolt circle. So if I go and I go into, we're going to do an extrude, okay? And we're going to go on the top surface here. So I'm going to click that top surface like we normally do. And visually wise, I want to change to shaded with edges. So now I can kind of see those edges. Otherwise, it all blends together and I don't see the difference between these. Now, if we look back at our part, okay, underneath the camera here, I'm going to draw this hole right here because this is going to be the vertical one that I have, all right? And it's going to be on a bolt circle of 2 inches, okay? Now, so my hole is going to be along this line, but it has to be on a 2-inch bolt circle. So I am going to go into construction mode, and I am going to draw a circle. I can't do a regular circle because then it's going to want to extrude it. I've got to do a construction circle. So I'm going to click on that. I'm going to start at my origin here, and I'm going to just kind of go out here, okay? And then it's going to come up with a radius of. Now, this would be a radius. If it's a 2-inch bolt circle, the radius would be 1, okay? All right, now that's just there. So now what that offers me is where it intersects with that vertical axis, I now can select that intersection. So I'm gonna go off of construction mode. Otherwise, everything after you hit construction mode and it's activated blue, everything is in construction. Now I've gotta go off of it and I'm gonna put a regular circle, and now notice I can click to that intersection. So I'm gonna click here. That diameter is 0.25, okay? And now it's located, I'm good. So if I look at the feature, I'm all set. I can now do my extrude. And the only thing that circle is there, that bolt circle is there for, is exactly that. It's for reference only. So I'm gonna hit okay. And again, it's gonna always want to default to adding material. We wanna remove it. We wanna toggle so it's at a depth. And that depth, according to our sheet here, is a 1/2 inch, so 0.5. Enter. Okay, so there it is. All right, it's not all the way through, it's just 0.5 deep. Okay, so I'm going to hit OK here. Now, with extrude 5, which is that hole, that's the one that I want to do the pattern on. Okay, so I'm going to do a pattern. I'm going to arrow down under dimension, do axis, click on the axis that we're going to sum around. Okay, now it's going to default to 4 and 90 degrees between. I want 3, because I'm going to rotate this 3 of them on each one, and they're going to be 120 apart like the last ones. And when I hit enter, we'll see them, you know, kind of preview the location. And that looks good. So I'm going to hit OK. There we go. And I believe that's all the features that I have. Any questions? All right, cool. So I will stop sharing and stop recording.